Death seemed to abound this week. The chilling deaths of Lisa Cash and Christy and Chelsea Cawley, as well as the death of 13-year-old jockey Jack G. Bromhead in Kerry, rendered me tearful during the week. In my home parish, 2 mothers integral to my childhood memories sadly died. Then Queen Elizabeth slipped away. It must have been the daily breaking news of such sadness that propelled me to search for a poem by Rita Ann Higgins, who wrote a short memorandum when Irish broadcaster Gay Byrne died. This is what Rita Ann says. Yes, he was loved, adored and cherished. He was mortal, not a god. He knew this better than most. When night times came and November folded itself around him and his slight shoulders, he had the thoughts of a mortal. He wondered what was next. The humanity of Moses and Paul shines through in our first and second readings. Moses pleads with God. Paul admits that he injured and hurt others, and he expresses his astonishment that despite all of this, he had benefited from God's mercy. The poet Rumi stunningly remarks, I learnt that every mortal will taste death, but only some will taste life. In Luke's Gospel, a fascinating conversation involving the outcasts and the outraged takes place with Jesus. And the conversation is very much about life and living. The outcasts are the tax collectors and sinners. The outraged are the Pharisees and the scribes. Both Jesus and the Pharisees believed in table fellowship. The Pharisees believed, like many others, that sharing a meal meant fellowship with God and with those who share the blessings of God. To break bread with others was to accept them, to offer them fellowship, to honor them, make a sanctuary of them, and share life with them. In Luke's setting of the parable of the lost sheep, the clear inference is that the tax collectors and sinners, despite being lost and despite being rejected by the Pharisees and the scribes, still belong to God, and that God himself seeks to bring them back safely to the fold. The parable of the lost coin raises the breathtaking possibility that if someone will stubbornly search for their lost property, however trivial it may seem, until it found, how much more care will God take to seek the return of those who are lost? In a little coffee shop on the South Circle Road in Dublin, I recall once reading a plaque that declared, remember, everyone you meet is afraid of something, loves something, and has lost something. The experience of loss is interwoven into our daily lives. Sometimes losing something is the only way to show you how important it was. Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian novelist, writes that Christ surrounded himself with beggars, prostitutes, tax collectors, and fishermen. What he meant by this was that the divine spark is in every soul and is never extinguished. In the parable of the lost coin, the woman loses. She lights lamps. She sweeps the house. She searches carefully. The singer Jimi Hendrix, in his song The Wind Cries Mary, sings, a broom is drearily sweeping up the broken pieces of yesterday's life. Last weekend, I was troubled to read an article about a broken piece in Irish society, titled "From the Sidelines." It presents evidence that many women coming to Ireland from other countries have found themselves ignored, patronised, and discriminated against in the Irish healthcare settings. One mother, a Brazilian citizen, noted, "I noticed the treatment other women were getting compared to me. When it was my turn to be seen, I'd hear things like, 'Oh, what time is it? I have to be at antenatal classes in 5 minutes. I'm already late, so you are okay?' Or in another case, a woman who was about to give birth was told by the midwife, 'Now give it some welly.' The woman had no idea what she meant. Another woman was told, 'Black women are strong,' and that I'd get over it. This lady remarks that certain GPs seem to believe the myth that black people have a higher pain threshold. Today's parables powerfully declare that in God's family there are no outsiders. Nobody is to be sidelined. The divine spark of women from ethnic minority backgrounds requires inclusive action and not just words. Something that is loved is never lost. God's blessing on the tearful, those who are mourning and are lonely. Amen.